Hello, everybody. It's been a few weeks since I've last talked to you. That's because we missed a week because of scheduling issues, and then I got caught up. So tonight we're going to do session 4 and 5 together. So this might be a longer video. So first off, welcome to the DM's diary. Rime of the Frost Maiden. Gonna go through my notes, and as we go through our notes, I will talk about what they did, what they didn't do, what I thought they would do, and maybe go over a few things. This one I will kind of give you a lesson on written campaigns because in written campaigns they have everything like zoned off. So when you think of zones, think of MMOs where you go into an area and everything is too high level. They actually wander into a place that's too high level, and because I'm a DM that I do not like to restrict places, I let them go, and I was really worried about that. But before we start, I want to establish once again that I am running from Rime of the Frost Maiden's campaign guide. Right, so this is what you get when you buy it. It comes with because someone was asking one day. It does come with a map of 10 towns. Well, all of Icewind Dale, and then individual maps of 10 towns that you can tear out. I did it poorly, as you can tell, because I got excited. My hands were shaking, and I'm a fucking nerd. So that's why that is the way it is. I also, just to stay thematic, I really like for them to stare at the art of this DM screen. You don't need it, right? Because the things in here, let me do this real quick. I know this isn't. Again, I'm not sponsored by anyone yet. The things on a DM screen are useful, and they're very specific to the campaign. If you buy that one, that one's the Frost Maiden, campaign setting. The art's really cool, but the thing is that it's not, it doesn't have everything you need. It doesn't have all the stuff that you need to really like pull things out of thin air. And if you're like me, you kind of like to pre-plan and you like to make your own lists, right? And you like to make your own things. So most of the time, I'm usually putting things over the DM screen. So the best thing to do is if you're a new DM, buy the standard one because it has a lot of the rules that you're going to need. But if you're an experienced DM and you're finding that you're not even looking at the screen for information, you need to buy you a blank screen and then start posting things on it. I can't afford the one that I want, so I'm just going to stick with what I got. And then again, one more time, this book right here, there's a PDF file on the DM's Guild. You need to buy this book if you like the idea of harvesting. This book is going to come into fruition tonight when I talk about crafting and a little more, and how it helped me in this time around. I cannot stress enough that the Drifters Game Workshop, who made this, is really good. Of course, it's a PDF, but I paid extra at my job to get this made like this. So there's that. Okay. So they arrived the last time that we talked at Bryn Shander and walked in. They were accosted by a man who threw graffiti or confetti on them and introduced himself as Barnaby Buckles and told them that he would guide them around. They agreed, and then they started the tour of the city. And I did not know where this was going to go. I didn't know exactly what was going to happen. But the first place that they went is they went to the House of the Morning Lord. In the center of the city, there is a place called the House of the Morning Lord. It turns out that it was just a normal house to begin with that has been converted into a religious area. The thing is that it's just a house. They meet. They see that there is a priestess walking around a sacrifice, as if these people too did human sacrifice. The priestess introduced themselves as Michonne and explained that the person that was sacrificed was a killer of sorts. Okay, just keep yawning. Just gonna yawn through this. I apologize. But she introduces herself as Michonne. The party stands back while Gaul talks. The party is not together. Gaul, Grim, and Parley came together and arrived at the city. Previously, Mario was not able to come to the session. So Mario had advanced farther ahead and was hanging out at an inn called the North Look in Bryn Shander. We'll get there in a minute. So let's just say that Mario's in Bryn Shander, or in North Look, for the moment. So they watch as Gaul talks to the woman about the Morning Lord. Then he goes inside to purchase some items. It was powdered silver to cast spells. Because I think, yeah, Gaul started into his levels of cleric. While in there, he meets someone named Copper. Copper is a halfling that isn't really religious, but helps run the store and keeps the place clean. And in turn, he is allowed to stay in this place, stay in the house of the Morning Lord. He talks about how his friend Macratus is missing. His friend Macratus lives in a cabin up on a ridge north of Bryn Shander, and Gaul agrees to check on him if they're ever on their way out there. And Macratus, or wow, Copper, tells him that he'll award him if they check on him. Gaul wasn't too interested until Copper said that Macratus was working on something to kind of fight against the Frost Maiden. So he then got interested. After that, they started going toward the crafting district. I put that in the center of the city because I felt like that was the place it should be. At that time, I cut to Mario. Mario is in the North Look. He's listening to Hilton Trollbane talk to this Tabaxi. The Tabaxi has a lantern in front of them and explains that the lantern is to find elementals called Chinguas. Why now? Like, I haven't yawned all night. Why now? But anyways, explains that the Tabaxi's explaining that they are looking for Chinguas. Hiln tells the Tabaxi that she's not interested. She has more important things to do. Then sees Mario and introduces Mario to the Tabaxi. And then Hiln says, "I'm going to leave." So Hiln leaves. And Mario works up the courage to talk to the Tabaxi, sits down at the table, and they have a conversation. Cut back to the other part of the group. Mario, Grim, and Parley are led by Barnaby Buckles to the market square. In the market square, there's a lot of crafters. These crafters I took from this harvesting handbook. Some of them I made on my own. But the thing is that in the back there are pre-made crafters. So I explained it as it was different than the rest of Bryn Shander. It was a little warmer. They see that there is a fire elemental trapped in a glass dome, and that kind of heats up, or glass tube, and that kind of heats everything up. Grim takes a few moments to kind of harass the fire elemental before they all go along their way, and they purchase a few things. I listed a big bunch of items, but none of them really bit. The only thing that they bought while they were there was a frying pan, the Magman pan. It heats up to 400 degrees by the owner. Parley, of course, is excited about that. I got nervous when Gaul bought some shackles. I was afraid of a little bit of torture there, a little concerned. But they spent their time shopping around. And if you want to know the shop descriptions, I can go through that maybe in like a side video, but I feel like that's not something that really is important. And you can, some of the items I got from the Dungeon Master's Guide, but a lot of them came from Griffin's Saddlebag, and that is a Patreon based guide that actually just makes an item a day, and some of them are really cool, some of them are really awesome, but they didn't bite on any of those. They also couldn't afford any healing potions either, so there's that. So while they're doing that, Gaul doesn't shop. He kind of hangs out, and he's staring at what is the sheriff of this town, and he is named Markham Southwell, Sheriff Markham. And he notices that Sheriff Markham is staring at a group of people that he realizes is Torga Osbane. Torga Osbane they've already come in contact with. So he kind of watches how those two interact, because Torga comes up and talks to the sheriff, and they have a conversation of accusation. And you can tell that the sheriff really doesn't like Torga, but has nothing to pin on her. Cut back to Mario. The Tabaxi, Seven Trees by the Lake is their name, tells Mario that they're looking to find Chingwas. They explain that Chingwas are super small elemental creatures. They're not mean or bad, but Seven Trees by the Lake believes that with their help, they can figure out what's going on in Icewind Dale with the weather and why it's always cold. There is no spring. Mario, being the friendly, helpful person that he is, promises that he'll try, you know. And as they're talking, there's a fish in the background of the North Look, and it turns its head, and it's mounted on the wall. Its name is Old Body. It's the biggest knucklehead trout ever caught. Turns its head and it starts singing, right? None of them really pay attention to the song, even when the other people are in there, but, you know, everybody knows that happens. But he turns on, he's like, let's turn on the lantern immediately and see if any of them are around now. So they do. The lantern burns orange first and then goes blue. Blue lets you know that there's a Chingwa within 300 feet of you. So they're like, oh, goodness. So they get up, they leave the area, they leave North Look, and they start walking around. Eventually, with some investigation rolls, Mario and Nine Trees by the Lake go down a small, narrow alleyway to see that Torga Osbane is laying face down on the ground. Sefik, the blue-eyed gentleman that had come in contact with Parley, turns out to be Sefik. Nine Trees by the Lake confirms that. Is over her body. He raises up a bloody finger to tell them to be quiet, stands up and holds a Chingwa in his hands, lifts it above his head, and drops it into his mouth. That is when Mario tries to attack. And there is a small altercation, and Seven Trees by the Lake hides, and Mario is almost killed. Is dropped down as low as he possibly can because Sefik's too strong. The thing is Sefik uses ice weapons, so not only normal damage, but he does ice damage as well. But anyway, Sefik, knowing that he's in danger and in a town full of guards, uses Misty Step, runs away. So, cut back to Mario tells Seven Trees by the Lake to report this crime. So, Seven Trees by the Lake runs back and finds Sheriff Markham, who is with the other party members. Well, not with, but around. The party members hear what's happening, and they all decide to follow the sheriff after introducing themselves back to the crime scene. They go there and they find the crime scene, and they see that, you know, the lantern is still orange. It's turned back to orange. Torga Osbane is dead, and they go ahead and get some of her items, but they don't feel really good about it, right? Markham interviews them for a bit, but then just tells them, this is what's going on and whatever. And then they go to the North Look. While in the North Look, they're looking for sleds, maybe a way out of here. So they find that. It turns out that Scramsax, the owner of North Look, is the person to go to when you need a sled and a sled dog, or sled dogs, or an axe beak. So they also found out that Hiln Trollbane, before she died, actually paid for their a night stay in the inn. So they stay a night in the inn, and then the next day, there's a blizzard going on. Mario does Druidcraft, finds out that there's going to be 4 hours worth of a blizzard, and then clear as day from then on. They decide that they're going to leave in the last hour of the blizzard because they're a little paranoid. They're not paranoid because of what happened to Hiln. They're paranoid because they're afraid that people in Targos are coming for them. I don't know if Gaul ever really told them what he did by informing them that he worked for the Harpers. But I think they may be metagaming there a bit. I don't remember that part. If they're watching this, they can tell me if that is actually true or not. But anyways, they go to Scramsax, and they decide that they're going to pay him for some rods. Grim says that he'll fly, so he's not worried about it. Gaul and Parley decide they can share one sled, so they pay for the sled, and then they pay for a set of sled dogs. No, they don't. They use Boy. Boy is the dog that they got in the previous town. So they have Boy, and then Mario doesn't have enough money. But he does see that Scramsax does like kind of lend things to adventurers, but they have to pay it back. So he makes a deal with Scramsax and shakes his hand, and in that turn, Scramsax takes his blood with this needle right here. They don't really know what's going on there, but Scramsax gives him an axe beak and a sled. An axe beak is a giant bird. I didn't get a picture of it up here because I didn't really think about that. But they have all of that situated. They go back into the inn for a moment, and Parley cooks them up a meal. I know that Mario scratches into the wall. Mario was here. Or Bargatze was here. And they then start to leave. And as they're leaving, there's no guards at the door in the north, and they push the doors open, and they see a woman in front of them, a priest woman, and she summons this shadow creature beside of her. It's just a shadow. It does 1d4. It does damage, but it also takes away your strength. And then above her, above them on the walls, the wooden walls, are two archers. Now, when I rolled this encounter, not rolled, but created this encounter, it said that it would be difficult, not deadly. So when they were really confident with this, this is when we end session 4, and I was really worried. I don't know why, but I was. But when we came back on session 5, that's where we started, and the blizzard's still going on, so all ranged attacks get disadvantage. Mario casts Fairy Fire to kind of negate that, to make everything normal. Grim cannot fly in a blizzard, so he has to do what everybody else does. They take out the archers first, which was really easy, shockingly easy. The priestess they fought with for a bit, and the shadow took down Parley, but they resurrected him. And they killed everybody pretty quickly. I was really shocked. And then they kind of healed up a little bit, took a short rest, went back inside, informed Sheriff Markham that there had been an attack. They found the 2 guards that were supposed to be posted there dead. So they take a short rest back in the inn, and the blizzard fails away. And they decide that they're not going to go the direction that they had decided. Because what they had first decided was that they were going to go to It's going to be a weird time here. They started here in Bryn Shander, right? And the idea is they were going to follow this path up to Tourmaline. Wait, is this upside down? No, I'm right. They were going to go from Bryn Shander down to the Eastway, up to Caer Dineval, Caer Konig, and then Kelvin's Cairn. That's the mountain where they're going to save the hiker, or the survivalists that took a group up there. But they realized that they didn't want to go through any more towns. So instead, they left north of Bryn Shander, followed the road, and then decided to go around this mountain here. And their plan was to hit this road, go up to Tourmaline, and go straight here. I think the idea is that they want to go through the Dwarven Valley. That's what they've made clear. I don't know. So that's what they decided to do. And in their first hour of traveling, they go around the mountain because with a sled dog and an axe beak, traveling is reduced by half. So they're going along easy. And then they see up on a ridge, hanging off the side, a black cabin. Right, it's like hanging. It's on stilts, and half of it's just hanging off the edge. And they know that with the description of what Copper gave them, that this is the place that they're supposed to go check on Macretus. Now, this is the part I had been worrying about. This was the part where it's actually in Chapter 4 of Icewind Dale, where the players are supposed to go. Again, I don't care. Like, I don't follow that. I think that the map is free to explore, and if a player comes across something difficult, they usually work their way out of it. So, they decide that they're going to go up there and check. Grim flies up there first, and he notices that the black cabin has a giant hole in it, and it looks down inside, but he can't see anything other than that. He flies down and decides to land on the porch and wait for them to come up the mountain. Or it's not really a mountain, it's like an incline, and I mean, there's a gorge. So as he does that, he sets off the first trap. The first trap is just weak floorboards. The thing is that they can fall, and they can fall so much that they take a base of 35 damage. They're not level 3. So 35 damage is going to absolutely destroy them. Because Grim can fly, it doesn't matter. So my first worry, we're done. That's not the one that bothered me. So they all finally make it to the black cabin. The first thing they do is they check the outhouse, and they just find a big bunch of old blueprints that have been used for toilet paper. They don't really see anything there. They go into the workshop. They see a set of smith's tools, tinkerer's tools, and harvester's tools. Harvester's tools are from the gathering thing over here. And then they also see a giant metal ring. They don't touch any of it. They also find a bookshelf at the wall, and then there's a hole in the wall and the bookshelf, and there's something small staring out at them. And they get really creeped out. And so Grim goes into the room first and charges toward this small creature that's looking at them through the hole. And instead of darting away, this white Arctic squirrel jumps through the hole and meets Grim in the middle. And if it would have been a large squirrel, there would have been an epic battle, but Grim catches it, and it's just trying to destroy him, and it can't. And then they find out that it's protecting its babies that are in the bookshelf. And this is the part where I say that I, as a DM, like to make up my own things, right? So I did not the books, like, there's some books there. They don't tell you what they are, and they tell you that they're all destroyed. But instead, I have a table where I roll out my books. And the first one was something called True Magic. It's about enchantment. The second one was Master Ironhelm's Guide to Mineralogy and Gems. The other one was Theology and Afterlife. And the fourth one was Plays, Tragedy of Dark Plagueis the Smart. And then the fifth one was Mind Flayer's Forbidden Love. Right? Just books. They all didn't do anything. Some of them did, some of them didn't. The only one that they actually took was a Theology and Afterlife, and inside of it, it was hollowed out, and they could see that it was a vial of healing. So that's what they found in that room, right? They open up the next room, the main room, and what they see is this is the room with the hole in the ceiling. They see a door on the opposite side of the room. They see a table that is scorched completely black. There's a book at the table. They don't actually look at it, but it's burnt up, and you can only see a few letters, so it didn't really matter. Um, they see a skeleton on the ground. Its hands curled up like this, and there is a golden necklace hanging from its hand, and it's a golden necklace of two hands holding the sun. They mage hand the necklace because they're afraid that it's a trap. So the necklace floats up in the air, and there's nothing happens, and they take it. They notice it's magic, but they don't know what kind of magic. Nobody has identified, so they put it away. Also, they see on this scorched skeleton, beside the scorched skeleton, an apparatus. It looks like it's a circle, a metal circle, with a piece of coal in the middle of it that's put together by two irons, and then they see another circle on top of that, so it like spins, right? And there's all this arcane runes all over it. Parley says he's going to pick it up, so Grim flies out the hole because they don't trust me, and Gaul hides behind the door, and Mario's talking to the squirrel, and he's promising the squirrel that they're not going to kill him. They're not going to kill the squirrel or the babies, and the squirrel's happy about that. So there's that. So Parley picks it up, and it starts glowing, and the inner ring starts spinning. And I explain that, and then immediately Parley's like, nope, and drops it, right? And then it goes away. They can't figure out what else to do. So they go to the next room, and it's a hallway with 4 doors. They try each one of them. The one door, they just find 5 bottles of wine, expensive wine from the south. Another door, they find just a bedroom with a broken window, and they see "Copper was here" written on the wall. Then they find a room that has some bookshelves, a fireplace, and then a 4-foot tall clay figure holding a blueprint in its hand. All across the floor are blueprints. And they realize that this was Macretus's homunculus. And they take the blueprints and they see that it's something that's just called the Summer Star. And they see that that's the apparatus in the other room. Parley looks at it and he rolls an Arcana, gets an 18, realizes that something's missing and malfunctioning, but he also knows how to use it. But he can't figure out what that is. So then they go to the last room, and the last room is Macretus's bedroom. Grim sees a big bunch of blankets, decides, hey, I want those, because they're high-quality blankets. And they search the room, and they find they find in that room a letter from Copper. And Copper just explains that he's done with the place, that he's wanting to leave, and that 3 are better than 2. This is when the party realizes that the 3rd ring with no arcane markings that they found needs to go on the apparatus before it can work. So they go back, and they're still afraid to touch it, right? So they're like, no. So they mage hand it into a bag. They take that extra ring and they put it into a bag. The Tinkerer's tools, the tools that were there, they could have tried to make it and makeshift it on there and try it themselves, but they don't believe they can, so they've decided that they're going to take it to Copper, right? Grim decides that he wants to be funny, so he fills a bowl full of one of the bottles of wine and watches the squirrel get drunk. The drunk squirrel passes out. The whole time they were doing this, things were being thrown across the room by an unseen person. They couldn't figure out what was going on, but they kind of thought it was a ghost, but they weren't for sure. They think it's Macretus's ghost. I cannot tell you what's going on there because this quest is still in progress, so I can't really spoil anything. Maybe later, when they complete the quest, I'll go back and tell you what else could have happened. But for now, we'll leave it at that. So they decide to leave. The door slams shut and locks. They unlock it, and they start to leave. Out in the sky, they see this dark shadow fly over, and then these 5 bodies fall into the snow. They inspect one. It's not moving. They inspect all of them but one, and that one starts moving. And it raises up, and it's supposed to be what they think is a zombie, except there's light coming from its mouth and light coming from its eyes. This is called a cold light walker, and it's a CR5 monster, and they are level 2. With great difficulty, with Grim being knocked down once, and Parley, Mario almost being destroyed, they are able to wear it down and kill it. Then they pack up everything, they do a short rest, and they decide they're getting the hell out of there, and then they leave, right? And that's where it finishes. That's where they finished, and right now they're on the road to not. They're going toward Tremoline, but they're not going to. I think they're going to cut across and go to the Dwarven Valley, which I spend a lot of time with already. So I'm kind of excited to see what they do there. I'm very curious to see what will happen. But this encounter, the Black Cabin, they're already wary. They're not going to touch the Summer Star. But if you're playing this, know that if your party gets the chance to get this Black Cabin in their quests immediately, and that's the thing, is like you can do this however you want. What I learned was is this town has a lot of quests. And I did not, it almost broke it for me because it's like I had to give them the quests. So I'm going to try to figure out how to like naturalize that more and ingrain that more into the living community, right? Like I've got to figure that out. But um uh this is not for them. The Summer Star, when it explodes, does a base of 92 damage to everyone within a 10-foot radius. So this could have totally killed the party. But the thing is there's a backup for that. Like I said, we'll talk about that later. But it could have done it. Like I was really worried, but I'm also confident in my players. I understand that, damage is damage. I would not have botched the rolls. I would not have done anything like that. But I am confident in my players, and that's the thing, is if you play with a group of people long enough, you can put them in impossible situations and they will still be able to work their way out of it. You don't have to find an answer, just like Matthew Colville said. You don't have to find an answer. You can just let it be, and they figure it out. They figured it out with Mage Hand. They knew what they were going to do, and they were confident in not being able to ruin it. So that's what they did there, and I really appreciate that. And that's probably what I'm going to do still, is I'm not going to cut them away from quests that I think are too dangerous. I'm going to just throw everything I can at them. There was a few potentials where they could have died, but it's terrifying. There's a Frost Maiden that's after them, or is aware that they're there now. So I think that they're gonna work a little harder. They're on the road. They rested, but they're still minimal on spell slots. So I'm really excited to see what's next. I know what's coming next. They don't, of course. But yeah, I think that we're doing good, and that was session 4 and 5. Until next time, keep rolling those 20s, and have a horrible, miserable week.